Peloponnesian War was fought between the Delian League, who sided with Athens, and the Peloponnesian League, who sided with Sparta. Sparta was known around the region for being an overly dominant war force, and their culture was strictly based around loyalty in war. On the other hand, the Athenian culture was based around wisdom and knowledge. These two city-states dominated all of Greece and therefore became rivals. They were each in sought of power. The war happened for many decades. It happened all the way from 431 BC all the way until 404 BC and took place in mainland Greece. Tensions were rising between Sparta and Athens due to the absurd amount of power Athens were gaining. The jealousy and greed eventually resulted in war. This brought devastation to the city-states of Greece, and the war led to the downfall of Sparta and their rivals Athens. Both city-states will never be the same again after the horrific war. The Delian League, also known as the Athenian League, was an alliance of Greek city-states led by Athens. It was formed in 478 BC, and the initial reason for it being formed was to fight off the Persians. The alliance was made up of over 300 cities and would eventually be dominated by Athens. It was slowly becoming an Athenian empire. The Peloponnesian League was an alliance formed in the Peloponnesus from the 6th to the 4th century BC. This alliance was dominated by Sparta, making it the leader. It was most commonly known for the Peloponnesian War when they went against the Delian League, which was dominated by Athens. Both of the city-states dominated all of Greece. Previously, Athens and Sparta fought as allies in the Greco-Persian Wars, in which the Greeks were victorious. Athens was becoming more and more powerful after the war. The alliance they were building, being the Delian League, was slowly turning into an Athenian empire. Athens dominated the alliance. This brought lots of fear to the Spartans. Matter of fact, the First Peloponnesian War outbroke. This is a series of battles that Athens won against Sparta in. The war ended in a 30-year peace treaty, and it went on from the winter of 446 BC to 445 BC. Athens and Sparta assumed prominence among the city-states, and their rivalry slowly led to the long-expected showdown.
After the Persian War that was fought by Greek states in Persia over a period of time, Athens grew more powerful in the Greek city-states. Sparta feared Athens' power, which led to the Peloponnesian War. Sparta didn't want Athens to take over Greece's empire, so a war broke out.
In the spring of 431 BC, Thebes, a Spartan ally, attacked an Athenian ally, Plataea, and thus the war began. The decades of fighting is divided into two periods, which is separated by a truce of 6 years. The first period began with Sparta, who was led by Archidamus II, who led an army into Attica, a region who was close to Athens. Pericles, the leader of the Athenian army, decided not to engage with Spartan's army, but instead they wanted the Athenians to keep their city and to use their navy smarts to harass their enemies' ships and things of that sort. Unfortunately, later on in the Battle of Philippus in 422 BC, the Athenian leader Cleon and Spartan's leader Brasidas were killed. This was a time for a brief peace. This was called the Peace of Nicaea. This peace began in 421 BC and lasted 6 years. This is a time for both militaries to recruit. The peace was broken in 415 BC. Athens launched an attack against Sicily. The Spartans helped Syracuse break a Athenian blockade. Athens had gotten reinforcements in 413 by the Athenian army, but were defeated again. Athens was destroyed again and trying to retreat. Everything was going downhill for Athens, but later they tried to bounce back with a new army to require their democrat rule again, which was overthrown. The war ended when the Athenian navy was destroyed at Aegopotami by the Spartans. At this time, their ruler was Lysander. Towards the end of the war, the Persians aided the Spartans in defeating Athens. P.S. Me and Erwins pronounced the words as best as we can.
Give them nothing, but take from them everything. Stay! That's the best you can do!
The Peloponnesian War impacted Greece in various ways. Both Athens and Sparta would never have the power each had at a point in time. The wealth, policies, and cultural power Athens had was gone. Sparta was no longer the military powerhouse it once was. Many people lost their friends and family at the war, and most of all, the plague killed many Athenians.